name is Casey Craig. I am Global Head of Communications at CoinDesk, which is just a fancy way to say PR and all the internal communications, making sure CoinDesk just becomes a household name. So consensus, we have 18,000 people here right now that bought a pass, but that means that there's actually a lot more here just for the ancillary events. I saw 200 after parties posted in a random Telegram group chat. So there's a lot going on. And for CoinDesk and DCG, this is a huge achievement for us. We have always aspired to have something of this magnitude and the scale, and for us to be here today after the pandemic and everything that's happened, even in a crypto winter and bear market, for us to be here with everyone is just a huge accomplishment. And it was a huge team effort across all of CoinDesk to make this happen. Basically, a DAO, everyone's anonymous for the most part. There are some people that are prevalent, but it's really cool. Imagine being at a company or a corporation with a very big budget and spending power, but you all vote on what you spend on together. There's many different DAOs out there. I think a really cool one is Friends with Benefits. That is the epitome of something that is funding the creator economy. It's full of artists, and they all vote on things that they want to buy, but the experiences they curate for their group, it's really cool. It's a great community. I think another interesting one is Red DAO. That's Megan Casper's a part of that. I don't know if you're interviewing her, she's part of Magnetic. Red DAO was the biggest purchaser for the Dolce & Gabbana NFT that launched in September. I don't know if you saw that. That was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So that's an example of how they chose to collectively vote on something. But then there's also Ukraine DAO. There's so many out there for so many different causes, which is great. That's think of the amount of, that's the epitome of community. There's they can achieve so much just from the collective. The DAO House is cool. I'm not as involved in that as some of the other ones, but basically there's so many DAOs out there, right? So it's going to serve as an educational platform. A lot of leaders from specific DAOs are going to be there, kind of educating people, telling them what they're working on. But it's just a great resource for people that have heard DAO as a buzzword and they don't really know what it is, so they can go and participate.
Oh boy, this has been a bit of a rocket ship, right? I think in 1994, I was lucky enough to participate in kind of the internet boom through the station of kind of participating in an internet native programming language of Java, right? So I feel that was one huge wave, but I feel Web3 is a second wave that's bigger, right? So, in a way I feel incredibly lucky to have seen these two waves, even in just one career span. So for me, as far as how it's changed my life, it's, really for me, everything has been about access. So this has really opened up the world. I've definitely traveled all over the place, and, I've really gotten to meet a lot of super interesting people, and I've been lucky enough to work on projects and invest in projects that have kind of gone, full dodecacorn or, gotten really, really sizable, right? So for me, these adventures are really something I would have never seen or gotten access to without this movement. So, DAOs are absolutely, novel instruments for coordination and organization. I think that it's really difficult to compress the how of a DAO, which is that you definitely need to use DAO tooling, right? So you need to basically find mechanisms like Gnosis Safe. You need to find mechanisms, Aragon or these other kinds of systems that enable you to set up these things. If you need vaults, you may need to kind of set up something. So to me, there's a whole world of tools that can kind of help you set up a DAO. Because ultimately what you need are things like vaults to store information, smart contracts to kind of conduct commerce and exchange. You need kind of a voting or some kind of governance structure or mechanism. And it turns out there's a lot of really great tools that will kind of help you set up all of those things. So the Ethereum Foundation is representative of a DAO-based system because what they do is they have this concept of an Ethereum improvement proposal, or EIP, right? And then the DAO votes on like what proposals they want to include in the code. So all of that does represent sort of DAO activity. At the moment, I think a DAO is experimental. So I think what I would advise is that you consider a DAO to be experimental and that you conduct then experiments with DAOs. Because if you don't experiment, you won't learn and you won't be able to advance the cause. But I don't think that sort of DAOs should be considered a mainstream coordination mechanism because people are just inventing a lot of the stuff that we need.
So my name is Olga Vox, and I'm a founder of Vox Consulting. Vox Consulting is a blockchain agency. We consult startups on marketing, business development, and fundraising, focusing solely on blockchain projects, which are metaverse and DeFi, crypto, NFT, and all around it. I believe the space that I work in is extremely decentralized, and it's applying everywhere, not only on projects and technology, but on the way the company is functioning and on my personal lifestyle as well. I learned about Bitcoin in 2016, primarily working in fintech and banking industries. And what's the most exciting about it is the power of the community and how by collectively voting and participating in the network effect, the community can shape the economy around the world and to apply blockchain in various different aspects of the business. I don't remember sitting in the office a single day ever because I always travel and meet my clients all around the world. I went to around 40 countries in the past 5 years, actively consulting projects in Europe, Asia, United States, Latin America, and all over the place. And so I believe I had a chance to meet a lot of people and had a lot of companies during this time because I myself is decentralized and so is my company. So everything that I said before, it was about DAO. I just didn't say the word DAO. DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization as a definition, and a lot of people explain it as an online community that has a shared bank account. I see DAO as a new way of structuring LLC because DAO is a native internet organization. We didn't have this type of organizations before, and basically anyone can create a DAO. You can go online and create DAO today. One click. You can create many different kinds of DAO. It can be investment DAO, it can be social DAO. So think investment DAO is a VC fund, social DAO is an LLC for creatives, and so on. The beauty of DAO as a new structure for a company is the fact that it's governed by people. So you don't need a centralized body. You don't need an executive who will decide which direction the company needs to go, what kind of new products you want to release, or how you distribute royalties among contributors on the platform. In fact, it fundamentally shifts the way the company is organized and governed, because governance can be delegated to the people, to the users of the platform, to the creators, where they can make decisions collectively and decide on what is best for the company. I believe that DAO is the future of organization, and on top of that is the future of the government. And just think about it, it would be awesome if Facebook, let's say, sends all the proceeds and from the advertisements and marketing budgets to the users and to the creators. Because as a matter of fact, today Facebook is using your personal data, and they monetize it and they don't pay to you. Imagine like if you could actually get something and you can decide if you want to share your personal data initially, and if you want it to be used for advertisement purposes. And if you do, and if you give permission to do so, you can also receive royalties back. My company is not a DAO yet because we provides consulting services to blockchain companies. But who knows, maybe going forward we can become a DAO too.
My name is Joe Vezzani, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of LunarCrush. I like to go to the conferences in the space and just kind of be there and kind of feel the energy and feel the vibe and listen to a lot of the speakers that are out there and just kind of hear where they're talking and where they think the industry is going, and paying attention to a lot of different things right now in our space. Right now it's a bear market in the cryptocurrency space, and so people are trying to kind of figure out what's next and where it's going. But I would say this bear market feels much different than the ones historically. It doesn't feel as low as the lows used to feel, I would say. There's so many more people, there's still so much excitement, there's so much more happening. And so it's a good feeling to see the people that are building, that are here and that are excited about the future. The one thing that I would like to take away from this conference is to really look at some of the people that are looking at the industry in a little bit of a different way, where what haven't we solved as an industry yet that needs to be solved? There's almost too many entrepreneurs in our space right now. It's like, because of that issue of like the creator economy and everyone can be their own entrepreneur, it's like we need baby steps to get there. And so what I'm looking for is some people that, even though we've innovated on DeFi and we have NFTs and some of the DAOs and some of these things are coming out, what did we miss? What are some of those key pieces that we missed over those last two bull markets, and who's out there maybe building something like that? So I'm looking for things around identity, right? And I'm looking for things that might kind of lift the industry in a way that maybe aren't as flashy, I would say, as like a metaverse and NFTs. So a DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. And so what a DAO is basically, there's a governance to it. So a DAO could be used for anything. My example is kind of the Green Bay Packers, right? The Green Bay Packers is kind of a community-owned football team, right? And so it's probably, I don't know too much about the makeup of it, but there's probably some larger owners and some smaller owners, but it's community-owned, and it's probably regulated in Wisconsin and, federally in the United States, and they probably have decision-making and a lot of things that happen with that, right? But everyone knows who everyone is there, and you can probably go look at the entire, makeup of everyone that's a part of it. But there is kind of community decision-making that happens when you have more people. And what a decentralized autonomous organization is that, but all you're doing is logging in with a wallet, a decentralized web wallet, or whatever wallet that you have. And now, depending on your access and the NFTs that you have and the rights that you have in that wallet, you can participate in anything. And so if someone wants to spin up a DAO to go buy the Wu-Tang Clan album, they're gonna go do that. And so you can participate in that in some way and be a part of that. So you might get something in return when you say, hey, I'm gonna give you X amount of dollars or Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever it may be. In return, I get voting, or I get rights, or maybe I get to listen to the album first, or whatever it may be. And so there's a lot of applications of that, but all it is kind of an online way, if you will, to let people have kind of rights and decision. And it's global. And sometimes you don't know the people that are a part of that, but maybe it's just a community of people that are talking online about whatever that they want to accomplish. And so it's a really cool way, I think, in our industry where, it started kind of a little bit more with NFT projects, because the DAOs have been around for a while. There's kind of a really popular failure a couple of years ago about it, but it always starts with a failure and then turns into something later on. It didn't mean it was a bad idea. And so you saw it happen with NFTs a lot more because it was just so community driven. And so you have a lot of, you have people that have Bored Apes or CryptoPunks or, Bitcoin Badgers, whatever it may be. You've got them out there, and those people might want to make decisions together, and who knows what they want to do. What do they want to go do next? They're just a bunch of like-minded people that came together that have the same driven mission, and this just allows them to organize better. There was something that was called just the DAO. And so it was the first one. Everyone contributed money to it, and then that person just walked away with it. It was hacked, basically. That one was probably most investors and individuals, but putting money into something where they had a little bit of a different promise of, they were gonna they had a mission to launch tokens and to do all this other stuff, but the DAOs today are much more specific, right? And there's a lot more, we're a lot further along in the industry where there's more controls and the technology is further along and protections that are in place, where that's why it's happening a lot more now. It's because it's safer, it's better, and more people are enjoying the experience.
My name is Francesco. I'm CEO of Kadena Eco, the ecosystem growth arm for Kadena. I actually started at Kadena as an engineer. This was, I guess it's my 4th year at this point. And we're generally a very engineering-focused team. We only started hiring outside of engineering late last year, actually. So I transitioned. I was the first one to go from the engineering team into the BD and strategy team, and sort of founding that team in early 2021. We thought that we had a lot more time before blockchain went mainstream and serious usage was coming our way. So we've always been focused on deep tech, but I was the first one to kind of cross the chasm into doing more business stuff because I have a background as an entrepreneur, so I was the only one that had some exposure to what it means to running a business. And then that sort of, as we built up those teams, that quickly transitioned into, hey, how do we scale up the ecosystem? So we founded Kadena Eco with exactly these principles of building the best and healthiest ecosystem in crypto. Kadena is actually one of the OGs in the space. We've been around since late 2016. Our 2 founders have an amazing pedigree. Before Kadena, they were the JP Morgan Center for Excellence, leading that group. So the inspiration from Kadena actually came from looking at other comparable projects back then, like Ethereum and other private chains that were popular at the time. So Kadena fixes for all the pain points that were evident then on a theoretical level, but only becoming practically sort of evident now. Things like high gas fees, security of bridges, and things along those lines. On a mission to attract top talent to Kadena. Unlike what's going on in this sort of current market, so bear market for traders, but we like to call it a bull market for builders, is that we're keeping on attracting talent, both on the engineering side and on the business and marketing side. One of the first people we brought on is Paul Su, who runs a fund, venture capital fund, Web3 in Chicago called Decasonic. He's joined us as Chief Investment and Innovation Officer, and so he's going to lead our effort for the ecosystem fund that I mentioned earlier. And we're bringing on more and more people. Stay tuned for more announcements of people that we're onboarding. We're planning on more than doubling the team size by the end of the year. Unlike what's happening today in an Ethereum before the merge and in a Bitcoin probably forever, means that there's all this electricity going in to mine blocks on this chain, but you're only mining one block at a time. So all the excess electricity just ends up going to waste. In Kadena, where there's multiple chains running at the same time, you can use that electricity to mine multiple blocks. So actually, as more people use the network, and we increase the number of blocks in the underlying network, the energy efficiency per transaction goes up. So, we can approach numbers that are, in terms of efficiency, that are very similar to other types of networks, whilst maintaining the, undeniable security performance. DAO is just, at the end of the day, it's a mechanism to come to a decision. There's different ways of self-organizing it, whether it's through Discord or however you want to have the discussion. But basically it's, giving power to token holders to vote on certain important decisions that can happen within this protocol. At Kadena, we're always pushing the needle of use cases on blockchain because of the new architecture of the network and of the smart contract language that opens up a whole series of possibilities of what you can do. And with DAOs, actually, we have a few protocols innovating on what governance actually looks like. We're big believers that the current iteration of DAOs is not what's going to go mainstream, as in where the biggest holders have the biggest say. That doesn't necessarily reflect how a company or an organization should be run, right? It's been thousands of years, something like that, and in every single country in the world, that people have a different corporate structure than that to make decisions. So what probably we'll see is something that is open and decentralized, but approaches a more efficient way of making decisions.